Well, I finally got round to making a introduction to my second base. We'll start out by a little panorama of the map. That's my old base across the lake there. As you can see, it was quite near to the town, which was quite important. It is a small town, but luckily it had a very big bookstore, which gave me a really good start in the game. The base I've got is a really good one because it was brick built and it's nestled between the grocery store on the left there and this garage. The garage eventually became my rooftop garden. I'm quite pleased with my garden actually, and as you can see I've started to experiment with growing trees there as well, so during the night if I need some extra wood I can get it safely from my rooftop garden. And this is my solution for gaining safe access to my base, a zombie proof ramp and security for my mini bike. I cross a little bridge here from the adjacent garage roof into my base. The base itself was essentially brick built, so it was quite secure anyway, but I did build an outer shell of flagstone just to give it some extra substance. I probably over-engineered this, but it was my first playthrough, so I had no idea what a horde could break through and what it couldn't, especially since I'd moved from a wood building and I saw how easily they could break through that. Adding the additional flagstone shell around the brick building was probably over the top, but it all helps. Then I built a flagstone perimeter wall and I filled the space in between with layers and layers of spikes. Yes, it's probably overkill, but as I said in my blog, you can never have too many spikes. Spikes are the most cost-effective way to protect yourself from the zombie hordes. And as Corporal Jones always says, they don't like it up 'em. Now the metal gantry on top of the wall was originally going to run right the way around the perimeter, but it just turned out to be too costly for me to craft at this stage. But what there was did work very well on horde nights, particularly against spider zombies who just couldn't climb over the railings. Now an added advantage of that gantry of course is to stop me falling off the wall onto my own spikes when I panic on horde night. Yes, that happens a lot. For some reason, I don't know why it is, and it's just a theory on my part, but having thickly planted trees seems to break up the zombie hordes quite nicely. So it's something I've started doing a lot, and I'm trying to force the zombies to go to my front door. It doesn't always work. By the way, that frame running around the outside of my main building is just repair scaffolding. It's temporary and I use that to get access to my death garden and repair my stakes. Now we're inside my base. This is the kitchen, a bit sparse as it is, but I have a small stock of food here. Not as much as I should have perhaps, but certainly a lot more luxurious than I had it in my early days in my first base, where I was nearly starving every day. This is one of the tricks. If you can get to the stage where you're actually starting to stockpile food, that helps so much. You really feel like you're getting somewhere in the game when you can start stockpiling bacon and eggs of all things. In fact, part of your daily routine in the game is keeping your eye out for wildlife and birds' nests. I've been quite lucky in the amount of wildlife that I've been able to hunt on this particular map, and as you can see I've stocked up quite a bit of meat, so I'm getting a really good diet now and I'm not as starving as much as I used to be in the early game. Now this is my workshop cum bedroom with the chemistry station, bedroll, workbench, forge and cement mixer. Each station has its own specific storage box with the relevant raw materials stored in them. My office with my desk, which is where I keep all my money, and extra storage boxes sorted into particular items, like that's my weapons box, my clothes box, and the mechanics box, and so on and so forth. I try to be as organised as I possibly can, because what happens when you have a lot of boxes is you forget you've got stuff or forget where you put stuff. Now here's the idea behind the original design of this base. This front perimeter with a garden of spikes, and I was hoping to attract the zombies in the front so they hit this garden of spikes and I could defend it from my parapet. Now the great thing about this stage in the game is you get, well, hopefully by this time you've got the mini bike, and that opens up so many opportunities for scavenging, looting, exploring. It also means you can stay out later on the night and even into the night when you get a bit brave. As I said earlier, I've started growing trees in my garden as well because I realised that on a night time I occasionally needed wood. And I didn't particularly want to start going out and chopping wood unprotected, so this has been quite a good experiment. It worked quite well. I usually also have a big row of potatoes there as well, but I've just harvested those. So you can see the spike perimeter all the way around the wall. Yes, it's a lot of spikes, but they're quick and cheap to make. To make this easy, I make sure I replant the trees in surrounding woodland so I have a sustainable source of timber. The spikes just do my job for me. I can just sit back and pick off the stragglers if they look like they're going to make it through the perimeter. Now, one of the other things I've done is place storage boxes on the outside of the perimeter wall. I have a storage box on each side of my base. These make it more convenient for me to pick up items from any dead zombies after a horde night. It just makes the cleanup process quicker and means I can pick up the items and sort them when I've got time. Now downstairs I built this kill zone leading from the door, but as it turns out the zombies have never made it that far. I was going to put spikes down that lane and I was going to set it up like a shooting gallery, so from here I could shoot any zombies coming down that centre aisle. Another good thing about this building is it has a vending machine, so I always had a backup stock of food if I could afford it. This is my zombie-proof staircase leading up to my work areas, and I have a roof area. Now I was going to use this when I first moved into this building as the roof garden, but I realised that I'd got that garage next door and that had lots of space. I was also going to use it for defence as well, but I've come to find that being on the lower level so you can quickly access all sides of your perimeter is really better for your defence than being up here trying to snipe zombies from a distance. Also, that I find the close-in weapons like the shotgun and pistol are less effective from all the way up here. The other concern, of course, is I go and do something stupid like fall off the top of the building onto my own spikes. There you can see my death garden, which hasn't been as successful as I really wanted it to be, really. Unfortunately, the zombies seem to choose which way they want to come, not necessarily the way you want them to come. So all that work seemed to be for nothing. I wish I'd just stuck to a smaller perimeter all the way around, really. That would have been far more efficient. Still, if nothing else, it's a nice view from up here. Here's my map. I've been very lucky with this. It's been quite a good map, really, although I am quite a distance from my next base. As you can see, this road takes me all the way to the first city that I actually found and my new base, but it is quite some trek and I wouldn't have made it without the mini bike. One of the rather unfortunate things about this map is that, and this is one of the things about it being a random map, you've got to just be lucky. And I have been lucky in some of my locales, but where I've been unlucky is that the guy that does my airdrops seems to take perverse pleasure in dropping them in the middle of lakes, which I just don't like. If you've tried to swim to the bottom of a lake in this game, you'll know how difficult it is. So that's the one downside. I've got several airdrops which I just haven't been able to pick up. Perversely, as well as airdrops, there's also treasures down there. And that's the second new city that I found. It's a reasonable distance from the first city, but only 45 minutes game time now that I have the mini bike. This makes for a decent day's scavenging mission. And that's as far north as I explored in the game so far. As you can see, there's a lot of big lakes in this particular map, hence the fact that a lot of my airdrops have ended up in them. Home sweet home, but maybe not for too long as I'm already looking at the city for my third base. So there we go, that's my second base. That is my original log cabin, which I moved from quite nicely close to this town, which made a very good start.